Rihanna and Beyonce are two of the most visible and popular black female pop stars pretty much since the 2000s. They have both had major hits, cultural influence, and endured relevancy over a span of multiple decades. Being that they are two black women in the same field, they often have been compared and have notorious fan bases that aren't shy of one another. While the comparisons at this point in time aren't really warranted or useful, they do actually stem from a more credible place than just a simple tabloid-driven comparison. To be clear, Beyonce and Rihanna have no beef, and if they ever have, the public has never known. They never seem to have any beef and have expressed love for each other numerous times though. But I do think the sensationalism and story built around them is a very interesting origin story, and more direct than people might realize. So Rihanna got discovered in Barbados by singing Destiny's Child and Mariah Carey songs, which eventually resulted in her being able to record a demo tape, which featured her very first single Pon de Replay. Although she was initially met with skepticism from Jay-Z, after her performance, both L.A. Reid and Jay-Z were enthusiastic to sign her, which led to a 6-album record deal for a then 16-year-old Rihanna. Pon de Replay served as an on-trend embrace of Rihanna's island roots. However, it was immediately met with comparisons to Beyonce's dancehall-tinged release, Baby Boy. Coincidental or not, Rihanna's label seemed intent on banking on the comparisons and her initial proximity to Beyonce. Rihanna's debut album Music of the Sun, released in 2005, was a homage to her island roots and was largely a vessel for her hit single Pon de Replay. Rihanna's initial commitment to her heritage on most of her debut set her apart from her peers, but she also had various songs that blended into the top 40. Rihanna was a very young and inexperienced artist, so it's more than likely that she didn't have a lot of control over her first few albums. While Rihanna was still searching for her lane, the Beyonce comparisons were persisting. In many ways, the comparisons had duality. In some ways, she was looked upon by music critics as the Bayesian answer to Beyonce. In other ways, she was leveraged as a competitor of Beyonce. It's also important to mention that Rihanna has shown gratitude for Beyonce throughout her entire career, but especially at the beginning of her career. She always let it be known she was influenced by her.
Rihanna is now 22, but almost 5 years ago, when she was only 17, her career was just building, and at the 2005 Jingle Ball, she was asked whose career she respected most.
Beyonce, definitely. I just thought she was, the first thing I saw, was her beauty and how beautiful she was. And then I listened to her music and I loved her music. She's incredibly talented. I think she's what every female artist should strive to be or strive to be like, because she, despite all her success, she still remains humble.
Beyonce had been around at that point since the 90s and was well established. Rihanna had also performed in a tribute to her in Destiny's Child. For her first few albums, the Beyonce comparisons were imminent, even more so when she did ballads and top 40 music that didn't lean into an island sound. Her first #1 hit, SOS, released in 2006 and taken from her sophomore album A Girl Like Me, was compared to the work of Beyonce due to its vocal inflections and delivery and Destiny's Child-like melody. Similarly, Unfaithful drew comparisons to Beyonce's balladry. However, as Rihanna was coming into adulthood, she would largely break away from any comparisons and officially morph into her own superstar lane with 2007's Good Girl Gone Bad, which presented Rihanna in an edgier and more adult fashion. The album was a blend of dance pop and R&B, with more concise and thorough topics and production. There were some songs such as Take a Bow that drew comparisons to Beyonce's Irreplaceable, taking on a similar production style and song theme. However, Beyonce and co. were a major figure of the 2000s and helped shape some of the popular styles in R&B pop during that time period. So it wouldn't be uncommon for it to seep over into people coming after her or her peers. What all of Rihanna's first 3 albums have in common is that they were sold with promotional stickers that blatantly referenced Beyonce, known as Move Over Beyonce stickers, taken from an article by The Guardian, which presumably pinpointed her as Beyonce's competitor. Rihanna's label clearly saw the value in that alignment and placed it on her albums for promotional gain. But by that time, Rihanna was not the Bayesian version of Beyonce. She was Rihanna, the superstar in her own right. There was, however, some messy behind the scenes stuff that went on as well, that was exposed later on. In 2015, Rihanna's former publicist admitted that he fabricated rumors that Jay-Z was cheating with Rihanna to help break her career. Neither Rihanna or Jay-Z were aware of his actions. "The PR stunt that I did was out of desperation to help break Pon de Replay," he said. "It was reckless, and I didn't think it was going to work. I was just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what would stick." By the time the 2010s came around, both of their influence would seep into popular culture and their peers, even at times influencing each other, whether that be directly or indirectly. Contemporary acts influence contemporary acts. That's just the name of the game. Usually for labels and the press, newer acts are commonly branded as the answer or opponent to someone already existing. And a lot of times that can be painfully clear when your new comparisons to someone is pretty much inevitable. There's like an instant push to see which lane you take up or fit in. But I think what it comes down to is how you progress from the comparison and how you come into your own. Rihanna obviously did that extremely well. In present day, I don't think Rihanna and Beyonce could be more different artistically, career-wise, albums, and performance-wise either. They are very different and two megastars in their own right. They are two entirely different entities, and when consuming their music, I don't go to them expecting the same experience. Even if there is some crossover moments where it sounds like they could have influenced one or the other, or shared the same producers and writers. Rihanna is a girl who was inspired by Beyonce, and coincidentally she got signed by Beyonce's husband, and was initially marketed after her, but she didn't rest in the shadows. She worked hard until her name was known in her own right. An interesting cultivation of events that led to one of the biggest female pop stars of all time.